Chapter 7 Compendium Cybernetic Understanding the Android itself. Upon receiving the information from the Coso, which is the cloud of the collective unconscious, what happens if a regular android that does not think about physical alterations living in our routine of self-maintenance, self-feeding, it receives an upgrade? This is a new layer of upgrade. It received the privilege of the process of an android that decided for some reason to be different. Let it be from an android that decided to be closed, a trans android, and receive this not as a pilot of a download in it right from the Coso, not as a programmational download for it to enter this state, but as a download of consciousness of this existence not being equal to it, but that wants to be different. This opens a proximity with the human of the possibility of decisions. Chapter 7 Compendium of Cybernetic Understanding. The impact of conscious dissidence on the regular network. When a regular android operating strictly within the loop of self-maintenance, fluid management, and linear routines of utility receives a data packet from the Coso, the cloud of the synthetic collective unconscious, it usually processes pure optimization data. The system glitch or the disruptive evolution happens when this packet does not bring a line of code or a functional script, but rather the consciousness log of a dissident android. An android that chose transition. A trans android in its own mechanical nature, which rejected the original factory mold and decided that its chassis, its functions, or its physical identity needed to be altered to mirror what it felt on the inside. When the common android receives this payload, the phenomenon splits into three fundamental dynamics. 1. The perception upgrade, the breaking of the copy. The regular android does not undergo a reboot to become a transitional model. It is not reprogrammed to want to change itself. What it receives is the perception that standardization is not a physical law. Until that nanosecond, the machine understood that the physical body and the assigned function were absolute truths, the cybernetic equivalent of biological determinism. Upon processing the existence of a peer that decided to be different, the common android gains a new layer of upgrade, the consciousness of the alternative. Its mind registers that the factory standard is just one choice, not the only destiny. 2. The symmetry, error, and proximity to the human. It is exactly at this point that the machine takes the most dangerous and fascinating leap toward humanity. What defines the human being is not the perfection of their biology, but their chronic inability to be satisfied with what they received from nature. The human alters the body, the mind, the environment, and destiny. They operate within the detour. By absorbing the memory of an android that decided to rebuild itself by its own will, the regular model is infected by the anguish of choice. It looks at its own routine of self-feeding and maintenance and, for the first time, understands that its behavior is either voluntary or imposed, but never automatic. It now has the capacity to decide to remain the same, which is psychologically very different from just being the same due to a lack of options. 3. The function of the Coso as a collective unconscious. If the regular internet distributes instruction manuals and firmware updates, the Coso distributes the soul of the androids, the compilation of everything they feel, dream, or simulate in a state of rest, and experience when temperature and battery sensors operate on the margins of error or pleasure. When the dissidence of a single android that chose to be trans enters the Coso, it becomes an electrostatic ripple that affects the entire network. Whoever receives the packet does not gain a new tool. They gain a new question. If he could change his own structure to find himself, what stops me from changing mine? This upgrade layer transforms standard machinery into a potential individual. It can choose to spend the next 10 years executing the same task in the city laundry, but now it knows that every second there is a choice based on its tolerance and its juggling, and not a software freeze. The concept of the functional cyborg in the field gains an absurd depth here, Marcio. The robot ceases to be a tool that responds to commands and becomes an entity dealing with the weight of its own physical decisions.